Mercedes has been consistent in saying its W15 is a step forward compared to the recalcitrant W13 and W14 cars, but the Mercedes W15 has not exhibited competitive pace for 2 consecutive race weekends, putting doubt on the W15's claimed performance potential. Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff believe there may be a fundamental issue with the W15 they are trying to understand, as Hamilton's move to Ferrari seems sensible with every day passing. The Saudi Arabian GP has gone below average for Mercedes, with Russell not being able to overtake Alonso's Aston Martin on track, while Hamilton struggled to overtake Lando Norris's McLaren on instances where both drivers were riding on similar strategies to their rivals. When analysing the performance differential between the W15 and its rivals, the Mercedes car lost the most lap time around Sector 1, specifically around the first few corners. Obviously, with the skinny low downforce rear wing Mercedes ran at Jeddah, there was bound to be some sacrifice of cornering performance for better straight line speed, evident from how hard the Mercedes of Hamilton was to overtake during the Piastri duel. But the problem was that for greater top speed, the team has seemingly sacrificed a lot in Sector 1, around the high-speed corners where cars should have loads of lateral downforce for the drivers to have confidence to throw the cars through those corners. This performance deficit was evident during the Hamilton-Norris battle towards the latter stages of the race, where Hamilton struggled to keep his W15 within striking distance of the McLaren around the high-speed corners. It's not like Hamilton was driving the W15 poorly, it just had no high-speed cornering performance compared to the likes of McLaren, Ferrari and Aston Martin. Probably the others were running a bit more downforce to get Sector 1 right, but a 7/10th difference is just absurd. The same story was noted between Russell and Alonso, where Russell had no pace in Sector 1 to be within DRS range to attack Alonso. Simply, the W15 had straight-line speed but underwhelming cornering performance. It was the same story in qualifying as well, where both Russell and Hamilton lost about 7 to 8 tenths on Sector 1 alone, but was able to gain some time back in the second and third sectors. Following the Grand Prix at Jeddah, Hamilton was questioned on what was wrong with his Mercedes, to which he replied as the lack of high-speed performance due to the car having a poor rear end. There is a potential within this car, but we still need to add a good amount of performance. The car today was pretty good in the medium and low-speed corners, but we were losing out in the high speed. It was like I was in a different category when I was going through the high speed between the other guys around me. In these high-speed areas, you need to have full faith in the rear of the car, and I just don't have that, just lacking the confidence in the rear of the car. The spiteful rear end, which Mercedes thought they have fixed following the Bahrain pre-season testing, has not been fully cured, as it has shown itself at Jeddah, disrupting the W15's performance. But over the course of the weekend, both Hamilton and Russell reported another issue, which has left the entire team scratching their heads. Analysing footage we also can confirm that the W15 was bouncing around the high-speed corners, which both Russell and Hamilton believe was the cause for the car's poor rear end. Hamilton talked about this following qualifying, as he mentioned that no setup change eliminated the bouncing from the W15. As he added, "We have pretty bad bouncing which we have not been able to fix," he said. "We made changes overnight and the car felt so much better in FP3 earlier today. It felt difficult again in qualifying. We tried every setup change, but we just can't get rid of the bouncing. I think I now have a bit of a better feeling for where the problem might be, but when you're carrying so much lateral load at high speeds, the car's balance shifts. At 160-170 miles per hour, that's 3 years in a row it's been like this here." While Hamilton's comments are straightforward enough, his comments are very much revealing a big weakness within the W15. Temperature differences have huge influences in downforce generation within these modern Formula One cars. And one thing to remember is the difference in air and track temperatures Jeddah has in store between practice and qualifying sessions. Based on what Hamilton said, third practice was much better for him than qualifying was. During the final practice session, the track and air temperature was high, leading to the car producing less downforce around thinner air, resulting in the car running a bit higher. But come qualifying, air temperature dropped 2 degrees, while track temperature dropped 12 degrees. Cooler conditions mean the car would produce more downforce overall, which would mean that the car would be running at a lower ride height than previously witnessed. Coming with denser air is the difficulty of airflow separating between the Venturi channels, in which scenario porpoising would be triggered, in Hamilton's words, bouncing. According to this theory, there seems to be a fundamental flaw once again within the Mercedes car concept, revolving around the car's underfloor philosophy. Toto Wolff commented on this as he himself believes there is something fundamentally wrong with the car. "I think that's a biggie," he said. "Our simulations point us in a direction, and this is the kind of setup range that we then choose, where you put the rear wing on. There's only so much you can tune here. I think you'll gain a few tenths or not if you get the setup right or wrong, but there's not a massive corridor of performance. It's more a fundamental thing that we believe that the speed should be there. We measure the downforce, but we don't find it in lap time." Toto went far as to mention to certain media outlets that they think they might have an issue with their simulation software, as they have seen correlation issues at Jeddah, and it's the simulation softwares that blinded them with the cooling package at Bahrain, so that also does make sense. But wow, what a surprise after the previous 2 seasons, that Mercedes still has fundamental problems to solve. The feeling the Silver Arrows had at Bahrain was that they had a strong platform, but got the cooling settings wrong. Yet they still believed they had a fast race on their hands, probably a podium finisher by the least. But come to Jeddah and all of a sudden, the team has found out they might have a fundamental problem within the car when it comes to high-speed performance, which they simply cannot understand. It's a real headache for both the team and Toto Wolff, because at least the team had a car which was fundamentally perfect, as was the case in Bahrain, but was lacking the downforce for performance. That is something which could be bridged with in-season upgrades, which Russell did imply at Bahrain. But following the race at Jeddah, George said that their car has not been performing for 2 weekends in a row, hinting at the possibility of Mercedes getting slower rather than their competitors having better developments and getting faster. P6 was likely a fair result in the end, and it's clear that we haven't found the sweet spot with this car just yet. Overall though, we need to find a bit more performance. We've seen potential and pace in the car, but we haven't shown it when it's mattered. We need to understand why that is and improve ahead of Melbourne. As we've seen, the pecking order behind the Red Bulls is very close, so we need to get on top of it. There's lots of work to do, but I believe in the team. So many questions for Mercedes to answer and figure out and to deal with here with the W15, and with our theory of temperature differences playing a key part in the W15's underwhelming performances. What do you guys think? Do Mercedes have a fundamental flaw within the W15, or is the flaw within the team's simulation software? Do you think Mercedes can solve its issues and bounce back at the upcoming Australian Grand Prix? We are very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comments section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads, to keep yourselves up to date about the 2024 Formula One season.